Arjun was just a poor boy living in a small, quiet village surrounded by vast fields of golden wheat. The sun would rise early every morning, casting its light over the simple mud houses and narrow dirt roads that made up his world. His family didn't own much, just enough to get by. His father worked tirelessly as a farmer, tilling the soil day after day under the scorching heat. His mother stitched clothes for neighbors, her hands calloused from years of hard work. Life wasn't easy, but Arjun had grown used to it. He knew no other way. Every evening, after finishing his chores, Arjun liked to escape to the nearby forest. It was his favorite place, a sanctuary where he could forget about the struggles of life for a little while. There was a small river there with clear water that sparkled like diamonds when the sunlight hit it. Sometimes, he would sit on the riverbank and let his imagination run wild. In those moments, he dreamed of being someone important, a hero perhaps. Someone who could change the world or at least make life better for people like him. But deep down, he knew these were just dreams. Reality always reminded him of where he came from. One fateful afternoon, Arjun's life took an unexpected turn. He was walking home from school along the same dusty road he traveled every day. The air smelled of freshly cut grass, and birds chirped happily in the trees overhead. As he rounded a bend near the edge of the village, something unusual caught his eye. A sleek black car lay crumpled in a ditch by the side of the road. Smoke billowed out from under its hood, and the smell of burning rubber filled the air. At first, Arjun hesitated. He had never seen a car like this before. It looked expensive, far beyond anything anyone in his village owned. Cars like this belonged to rich people, the kind who lived in big cities miles away. What was it doing here? Cautiously, he approached the wreckage. Through the smoke, he saw movement inside the vehicle. A girl, about his age, sat trembling behind the steering wheel. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with fear. Without thinking twice, Arjun sprang into action. He rushed to the car and tried to open the door, but it was jammed shut. The acrid smell of smoke grew stronger and flames began licking at the edges of the engine. Time was running out. Summoning all his strength, Arjun pulled at the handle, again using every ounce of force he had. Finally, the door gave way with a loud creak. "Come on," he shouted, reaching in to grab the girl's arm. She hesitated for a moment, too frightened to move, but then she nodded and allowed him to pull her out. Just seconds later, the car erupted into flames, the explosion sending a shockwave through the air. Arjun shielded the girl with his body, both of them falling to the ground as debris rained down around them. When the chaos subsided, they sat there in stunned silence, coughing and brushing soot off their clothes. The girl stared at Arjun, her expression a mix of disbelief and gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice shaky. "You saved my life." Arjun shrugged, trying to act nonchalant despite the adrenaline still coursing through his veins. "It's okay," he said simply. "Anyone would have done the same." But the girl shook her head. No, not everyone would have risked their life like that. She introduced herself as Mira, explaining that she was the daughter of one of the wealthiest businessmen in the region. Her family owned factories, businesses, and even parts of the city. To Arjun, it sounded like another world, one he couldn't even begin to imagine. Mira thanked him repeatedly, insisting that she owed him a debt she could never repay. Arjun dismissed her words, saying he hadn't done it expecting anything in return. Still, as he walked home that evening, he couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter might change his life forever. Little did he know, it already had. Over the next few days, rumors spread throughout the village about what had happened. Some people praised Arjun for his bravery, while others whispered that he must have been foolish to put himself in danger for a stranger. Arjun paid no attention to any of it. He returned to his usual routine, helping his parents with chores and dreaming by the river. But deep down, he wondered if Mira would keep her promise to repay him, or if she would forget all about him once she returned to her luxurious life. Then one evening, a letter arrived at Arjun's doorstep. It bore the insignia of Mira's family, a crest embossed in gold, and contained an invitation to visit their estate. Arjun's heart raced as he read the words. This was his chance to step into a world he had only ever dreamed of. Yet a part of him felt uneasy. What could they possibly want from him? Was this some sort of trick? Despite his doubts, curiosity got the better of him. He decided to accept the invitation, telling himself that he had nothing to lose. After all, he had risked everything once, before, and look where that had led him. And so, with a mixture of excitement and apprehension, Arjun prepared to leave his humble village behind, stepping into the unknown. He didn't realize it yet, but this decision would set him on a path full of challenges, opportunities, and transformations. For now, though, he simply hoped that whatever lay ahead would be worth the risk. As he stood outside his modest home, looking up at the stars twinkling in the night sky, Arjun felt a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, his dreams weren't as impossible as they seemed. The morning Arjun set out for Mira's estate, he felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. He had never been outside his village before, let alone to the grand mansion of one of the richest families in the region. His mother helped him pack a small bag with clean clothes while his father gave him stern advice about behaving properly and not embarrassing himself. "Remember who you are," his father said firmly, "but also remember where you're going." Arjun nodded, though he wasn't entirely sure what that meant. As he boarded the bus heading toward the city, he couldn't help but feel like an outsider stepping into a world that wasn't meant for him. The journey was long, and as the landscape changed from open fields to crowded streets lined with tall buildings, Arjun's unease grew. Everything seemed so different, noisy, fast-paced, overwhelming. By the time he reached the address written on the invitation, his heart was pounding. When the gates of the estate swung open, Arjun's breath caught in his throat. The mansion was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its towering white walls gleamed in the sunlight, and intricate carvings adorned every surface. A fountain stood proudly in the center of the driveway, its crystal-clear water shimmering like diamonds. Servants dressed in crisp uniforms moved silently through the halls, their polished shoes clicking softly against the marble floors. It was beautiful, but also intimidating. Mira greeted him warmly at the entrance, her smile putting him slightly at ease. She looked different from when he had last seen her by the side of the road. Gone were the smudges of dirt and the look of fear. Instead, she wore an elegant dress, her hair neatly styled. Yet, despite the luxury surrounding her, there was a kindness in her eyes that reminded Arjun of the scared girl he had saved. "Welcome," she said, leading him inside. "I'm so glad you came." As they walked through the mansion, Mira introduced him to her parents. Mr. Kapoor, her father, was a tall man with sharp features and an air of authority. He studied Arjun carefully, his gaze intense, but not unkind. Mrs. Kapoor, on the other hand, was softer spoken, offering a polite smile as she welcomed him into their home. After exchanging pleasantries, Mr. Kapoor got straight to the point. "We owe you a great debt," he began, his voice steady and commanding. "You risked your life to save our daughter, and we will never forget that." Arjun shifted uncomfortably, unsure how to respond. "It was nothing," he mumbled. "I just did what anyone else would have done." Mr. Kapoor raised an eyebrow. "Not everyone would have acted so selflessly," he countered. "Bravery is rare these days, and valuable. Tell me, young man, do you have any dreams, any ambitions?" The question caught Arjun off guard. No one had ever asked him something like that before. Growing up, his only goal had been survival, to help his family make ends meet. But now, standing in this opulent mansion, surrounded by people who clearly valued ambition, he found himself hesitating. I want to be more than I am," he admitted finally, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want to do something important, something that matters." His honesty seemed to impress Mr. Kapoor. The older man leaned back in his chair, stroking his chin thoughtfully. For several moments the room was silent, except for the faint ticking of a clock on the wall. Then, Mr. Kapoor spoke again. If you're serious about wanting to improve yourself, he said slowly, then perhaps we can help. I propose a deal. Over the next year, you will work hard, prove your dedication, and show us that you're capable of achieving greatness. In return, I will sponsor your education at the best university in the city. Arjun's eyes widened in disbelief. University? That was a dream he had never dared to entertain. People like him didn't go to university. They worked in fields, or stitched clothes to survive. And yet, here was this man offering him a chance to change his destiny. But why? Arjun blurted out before he could stop himself. Why would you do this for me? Mr. Kapoor smiled faintly. Because talent and potential shouldn't be wasted, he replied. And because bravery deserves recognition. If you succeed, you'll prove that my faith in you wasn't misplaced. Though overwhelmed, Arjun accepted the offer. How could he refuse such an incredible opportunity? Still, as he left the mansion later that day, his mind raced with questions. Could he really live up to their expectations? What if he failed? Adjusting to city life. A few weeks later, Arjun moved to the city to begin his new life. At first, everything felt foreign and overwhelming. The constant noise of honking cars and bustling crowds made it hard for him to sleep at night. The apartment provided by Mr. Kapoor was small but modern, with appliances Arjun had never used before. Simple. Tasks like turning on the washing machine or using the microwave became daunting challenges. School was even harder. The other students came from privileged backgrounds, wearing expensive clothes and carrying the latest gadgets. Many of them sneered at Arjun, mocking his accent and ragged notebook. Some called him names behind his back, while others openly questioned how someone like him had managed to get into such a prestigious institution. Despite the hostility, Arjun refused to give up. He threw himself into his studies, determined to prove that he belonged. He spent hours in the library poring over textbooks and taking meticulous notes. When he struggled to understand complex concepts, he sought help from teachers or stayed late after class to ask questions. Slowly but surely, his grades began to improve. During this time, Mira became a source of support. She visited him whenever she could, bringing snacks or books to cheer him up. They talked about their lives, their hopes, fears, and dreams, and Arjun found comfort in her friendship. Unlike the others, Mira treated him as an equal, never looking down on him because of where he came from. However, their bond wasn't without complications. Mira's family disapproved of her spending so much time with Arjun. They viewed him as a charity case, someone unworthy of their daughter's attention. Mira tried to ignore their protests, but the tension weighed heavily on both of them. One evening, as they sat together on a park bench overlooking the city skyline, Mira turned to Arjun with a worried expression. "Do you think we can keep doing this?" she asked quietly. "My parents, they don't understand. They think you're just a distraction." Arjun sighed, feeling a pang of sadness. He had known this moment would come eventually. "Maybe they're right," he said, forcing a smile. "You deserve better than someone like me." Mira shook her head fiercely. "Don't say that," she insisted. "You've worked so hard to get here. Don't let anyone, including me, hold you back." Her words stayed with Arjun long after she left. Though their relationship remained complicated, her encouragement gave him the strength to keep pushing forward. He reminded himself why he was here, to build a better future, not just for himself but for everyone counting on him. Discovering passions. As the months passed, Arjun discovered a newfound passion for engineering, particularly aerospace technology. Inspired by stories of space exploration, he dreamed of contributing to humanity's journey among the stars. Late at night, he would sketch designs for spacecraft, imagining ways to make them faster, stronger, and more efficient. His professors noticed his enthusiasm and encouraged him to pursue research projects. By the end of the year, Arjun had transformed from a shy, uncertain boy into a confident young man with big dreams. He still faced challenges, but he no longer doubted his ability to overcome them. The invitation that had once seemed like a miracle now felt like the beginning of something greater, a chance to rise above his circumstances and become the hero he had always imagined. Little did he know, his journey was far from over. The skills and determination he developed during this time would soon prepare him for trials beyond anything he could have imagined. As the months turned into years, Arjun's life in the city became a whirlwind of challenges and triumphs. The initial struggles of adjusting to urban life had given way to a new set of obstacles, ones that tested not only his intellect, but also his resilience. Though he had grown accustomed to the noise, crowds, and fast pace of the city, the weight of expectations continued to press down on him. Every day was a battle against doubt, prejudice, and the fear of failure. Yet through it all, Arjun held on to one unwavering belief: he could rise above his circumstances. A New World of Knowledge University proved to be both exhilarating and exhausting for Arjun. He immersed himself in his studies, spending countless hours in lecture halls, labs, and libraries. His professors quickly recognized his potential, praising his curiosity and determination. But excelling academically wasn't easy. Many of his classmates came from privileged backgrounds, having attended elite schools where they had access to resources Arjun could only dream of. They breezed through assignments while he struggled to keep up, often staying awake late into the night to catch up. One subject, however, captured his imagination like no other: aerospace engineering. The idea of exploring space fascinated him. The vastness of the universe, the mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and the possibility of humanity reaching new frontiers. For the first time in his life, Arjun felt truly passionate about something. He began sketching designs for spacecraft during his free time, imagining ways to make them faster, lighter, and more efficient. His professors encouraged him to pursue research projects, offering guidance and support whenever he needed it. Despite his growing interest in engineering, Arjun couldn't escape the social barriers that surrounded him. Some of his classmates still mocked him for his humble origins, whispering behind his back or making snide comments about his clothes. Others dismissed his ideas, assuming he lacked the sophistication to contribute meaningfully to their discussions. At times, the isolation felt suffocating. But instead of letting it break him, Arjun used it as fuel to push harder. He reminded himself of why he was here: to prove that talent and hard work mattered more than wealth or privilege. Mira's support and complications. Throughout this period, Mira remained a constant source of encouragement. She visited him regularly, bringing snacks, books, or simply a listening ear when he needed to vent. Their friendship deepened as they shared stories about their lives, their hopes, fears, and dreams. Mira admired Arjun's determination and often told him how proud she was of everything he had achieved. "You're amazing," she would say with a smile. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." But their relationship wasn't without its complications. Mira's family continued to disapprove of her spending so much time with Arjun. To them, he was an outsider, a poor boy who didn't belong in their world. They worried that his presence might tarnish their reputation or distract Mira from fulfilling her responsibilities as the daughter of a wealthy businessman. Her parents urged her to distance herself from him, warning her that associating with someone like Arjun could jeopardize her future. Mira tried to ignore their protests, but the tension weighed heavily on both of them. One evening, as they sat together on a park bench overlooking the city skyline, she turned to Arjun with tears in her eyes. "I hate this," she said softly. "Why does it have to be so hard?" Arjun reached out and placed a comforting hand on hers. "Because we're different," he replied gently. "And sometimes people can't see past those differences." "But I don't care about any of that," Mira insisted. "All I care about is you." Her words filled Arjun with warmth, but they also brought a pang of sadness. He knew their bond was special, but he couldn't help feeling like an obstacle in her path. "You deserve better than someone like me," he said quietly. "Someone who can give you everything you need." Mira shook her head fiercely. "Stop saying that. she said, her voice trembling. "You've already given me so much. Your kindness, your courage, your friendship. That's worth more than anything money can buy." Though her words reassured him, Arjun couldn't shake the feeling that their relationship was destined to face even greater challenges. Still, he resolved to focus on his goals, knowing that success might offer him a chance to bridge the gap between their worlds. The turning point: by his final year at university, Arjun had earned a reputation as one of the brightest students in his program. His dedication and innovative thinking caught the attention of professors and industry leaders alike. When a national competition for young engineers was announced, several of his mentors encouraged him to participate. The challenge? Design a prototype spacecraft capable of exploring distant planets. At first, Arjun hesitated. The competition was fierce, and many participants came from prestigious institutions with state-of-the-art facilities. How could he possibly compete against them? But then he remembered Mira's words. "Don't let anyone hold you back." With renewed determination, he threw himself into the project, working tirelessly to bring his vision to life. For months, Arjun barely slept. He spent long hours in the lab, testing materials, running simulations, and refining his design. His prototype, a compact yet highly advanced spacecraft, featured cutting-edge technology that reduced energy consumption while maximizing speed and durability. It was unlike anything anyone had seen before, blending functionality with elegance in a way that left his professors astounded. As the deadline approached, Arjun grew increasingly nervous. What if his invention failed to impress the judges? What if all his hard work amounted to nothing? Despite his doubts, he refused to give up. He reminded himself of the journey that had brought him here, the sacrifices he had made, the battles he had fought, and the people who believed in him. The day of the competition arrived, and Arjun stood nervously beside his creation. Judges from top universities and aerospace companies scrutinized every detail, asking tough questions about functionality, efficiency, and feasibility. To everyone's surprise, including his own, Arjun answered confidently, drawing upon years of hard work and determination. His passion for space exploration shone through, captivating the audience and earning him praise from even the harshest critics. When the results were announced, Arjun's heart raced. He barely heard the names of the runners-up as the host declared, "The winner. First place goes to Arjun Kumar." For a moment, he was too stunned to react. Then, as applause erupted around him, reality sank in. He had won. Not just the competition, but validation for everything he had worked toward. Tears welled up in his eyes as he accepted the trophy, overwhelmed by the realization that he had proven himself worthy of standing among the best. A new chapter news of Arjun's achievement spread quickly, reaching newspapers, television channels, and online platforms across the country. Suddenly, he found himself thrust into the spotlight. A poor boy turned rising star in the field of aerospace engineering. Reporters hounded him for interviews, and companies vied for his attention, offering lucrative deals and partnerships. Universities invited him to speak at conferences, while government agencies expressed interest in funding his research. Amidst the chaos, Arjun remained humble, remembering the boy who once dreamed of greatness while sitting by a quiet riverbank. He knew that success hadn't come easily. It was the result of years of struggle, sacrifice, and unwavering determination. And though the world now saw him as extraordinary, he never forgot where he had come from. His breakthrough invention caught the eye of a top-secret government agency tasked with defending Earth against extraterrestrial threats. Intrigued by Arjun's ingenuity, they recruited him to lead a classified project aimed at developing advanced weaponry and defense systems. Little did he know, this decision would soon place him at the center of events that would alter the course of human history. As he prepared to step into this new role, Arjun reflected on his journey thus far. From the humble fields of his village to the bustling streets of the city, from saving a rich girl's life to designing a revolutionary spacecraft, every step had led him closer to achieving his dreams. Yet, he also knew that the greatest challenges lay ahead, and that true greatness wasn't defined by wealth or privilege but by courage, resilience, and the willingness to risk everything for a greater cause. With hope in his heart and fire in his soul, Arjun embraced the unknown, ready to face whatever the future held. Arjun's life changed dramatically after the competition. The once unknown boy from a small village was now a household name, celebrated as one of India's brightest minds in aerospace engineering. Newspapers hailed him as a rags-to-riches hero, while social media buzzed with praise for his achievements. Invitations poured in, from universities, tech companies, and even foreign governments eager to collaborate on groundbreaking projects. But fame came with its own set of challenges, forcing Arjun to navigate a world that was both exhilarating and overwhelming. Fame and pressure. At first, Arjun struggled to adjust to his newfound celebrity status. Reporters camped outside his apartment, desperate for interviews and sound bites. Strangers approached him on the street asking for autographs or selfies. Some praised him for his brilliance. Others criticized him for being too ambitious or arrogant. It seemed everyone had an opinion about who he was and what he represented. Despite the attention, Arjun tried to stay grounded. He reminded himself daily of his roots, the humble village where he grew up, the sacrifices his family made, and the struggles he endured to get here. He often thought about his father's words, "Remember who you are?" Those words became his anchor, keeping him focused amidst the chaos. But the pressure mounted. The government agency that recruited him expected nothing less than perfection. Their mission, to defend Earth against potential alien threats, was shrouded in secrecy, requiring Arjun to work long hours under intense scrutiny. His days were filled with meetings, experiments, and endless problem-solving. Nights blurred into mornings as he pushed himself to meet deadlines, knowing that failure wasn't an option. The stress took a toll on his health. Dark circles formed under his eyes and his weight fluctuated due to irregular meals. Friends and colleagues noticed the change but hesitated to say anything, unsure how to approach someone who seemed larger than life. Even Mira, who still supported him wholeheartedly, could sense the strain in their conversations. "Are you okay?" she asked one evening during a rare visit. They sat together in his cluttered office, surrounded by blueprints, prototypes, and stacks of research papers. "I'm fine," Arjun replied automatically, though his tired smile betrayed the truth. "You don't look fine," Mira said gently. "You've been working nonstop for months. Don't you ever take a break?" Arjun sighed, leaning back in his chair. "How can I? There's so much riding on this project. If we fail—" He trailed off, unwilling to voice the consequences. Mira reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. "I know how important this is to you, but you can't keep going like this. You'll burn yourself out." Her concern touched him, but Arjun knew there was no turning back. This was his chance to make a real difference, not just for himself, but for humanity. He couldn't afford to slow down, not when the stakes were so high. A glimpse of hope amidst the relentless pace of his work, Arjun found moments of inspiration that reignited his passion. One such moment occurred during a test flight of his prototype spacecraft. Standing in mission control, he watched anxiously as the sleek vessel soared into the sky, its engines roaring with power. For several tense minutes, everyone held their breath, waiting to see if it would perform as expected. When the craft successfully completed its maneuvers and returned safely to Earth, cheers erupted throughout the room. Engineers hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. Arjun felt a surge of pride unlike anything he had experienced before. All the sleepless nights, all the sacrifices. It had been worth it. That night, as he stood alone on the rooftop of the facility, gazing at the stars, Arjun allowed himself to dream again. What if his invention could pave the way for humanity's journey beyond Earth? What if it could protect the planet from dangers lurking in the vastness of space? These thoughts filled him with hope, reminding him why he had chosen this path in the first place. Yet even in those quiet moments of reflection, Arjun couldn't escape the nagging doubts that lingered in the back of his mind. Was he truly ready? For what lay ahead? Could he handle the responsibility of defending an entire planet? Tumataon. Conflict with Mira. As Arjun's career skyrocketed, tensions between him and Mira reached a breaking point. Her family's disapproval of their relationship had only grown stronger over time. They saw Arjun's success as a threat to their status, fearing that his rise might overshadow their own prominence. They pressured Mira to distance herself from him, warning her that associating with someone from such humble beginnings could tarnish her reputation. Mira resisted at first, refusing to abandon the man she cared about deeply. But the strain began to show. Arguments became more frequent, often ending in silence as neither knew how to bridge the gap between their worlds. One particularly heated exchange left them both shaken. "You're changing, Arjun," Mira said, her voice trembling. "I barely recognize you anymore. Is this really what you want? To lose yourself in your work and push everyone else away?" Arjun clenched his fists, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. "I'm not pushing you away, Mira. I'm trying to do something meaningful, something that matters. Can't you understand that?" "I do understand," she replied, tears welling up in her eyes. "But I also miss the person you used to be. The boy who dreamed big but never forgot where he came from. Sometimes I feel like you've left me behind." Her words struck a chord deep within him. Arjun realized that in his quest for greatness, he had neglected the people who mattered most, including Mira. He wanted to apologize, to promise her that things would be different. But before he could speak, she turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone in the empty hallway. Facing the unknown. The loss of Mira weighed heavily on Arjun, but he couldn't dwell on it for long. News arrived that Earth was facing an unprecedented crisis. Alien fleets had been spotted hovering above the atmosphere, their massive ships blotting out the sun. Panic spread across nations as humanity realized it was vastly outmatched. Governments scrambled to respond, turning to Arjun's team for salvation. Under immense pressure, Arjun led efforts to deploy his most ambitious creation yet, a fleet of star destroyers armed with cutting-edge technology. These vessels dwarfed anything humanity had built before, capable of rivaling even the alien armada. As the battle commenced, Arjun watched anxiously from mission control, knowing the fate of billions rested on his shoulders. Against all odds, humanity emerged victorious. The aliens retreated, terrified by Earth's unexpected show of strength. Celebrations erupted worldwide and Arjun became a global hero. Yet amidst the cheers and accolades, he remained humble, remembering the boy who once dreamed of greatness while sitting by a quiet riverbank. In the aftermath, Mira re-entered his life. Having defied her family's wishes, she sought reconciliation. Together, they reflected on their journey, the struggles, sacrifices, and triumphs that had shaped them. Though scars remained, their bond endured stronger than ever. Arjun's story served as a reminder that true greatness isn't defined by wealth or privilege but by courage, resilience, and the willingness to risk everything for a greater cause. And so the boy who started with nothing ended up giving everything, for love, for humanity, and for the stars above. The victory over the alien fleet was a turning point in human history. For centuries, humanity had looked to the stars with awe and curiosity, but now it faced them with strength and resolve. The battle had shown that Earth was no longer defenseless. It could stand its ground against even the most advanced threats, and at the heart of this triumph stood Arjun Kumar, the boy who had once dreamed of greatness while sitting by a quiet riverbank. A new era begins. In the days following the battle, celebrations erupted across the globe. Cities lit up with fireworks, streets filled with cheering crowds, and news channels replayed footage of the star destroyers defeating the alien armada. Arjun's face appeared on billboards, magazine covers, and television screens everywhere. He became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest moments humanity could rise above adversity. Yet, despite the adoration, Arjun remained humble. He avoided grand speeches and flashy appearances, choosing instead to focus on his work. "This isn't about me," he often said when asked about his role in the victory. "It's about all of us, about what we can achieve when we come together." Behind the scenes, however, the pressure continued to mount. The government agency tasked with defending Earth demanded constant innovation. The aliens might have retreated, but they hadn't been defeated entirely. Intelligence reports suggested they were regrouping, planning their next move. Arjun knew humanity couldn't afford to rest on its laurels. The fight wasn't over yet. He threw himself into developing new technologies, determined to stay one step ahead of the enemy. His team worked tirelessly, designing faster ships, more powerful weapons, and advanced surveillance systems. Sleep became a luxury he rarely afforded himself, but he didn't complain. Every breakthrough brought him closer to ensuring Earth's safety, and every failure reminded him of the stakes. Reconnecting with Mira. Amidst the chaos, Mira returned to Arjun's life. After defying her family's wishes, she sought reconciliation, hoping to rebuild the bond they had shared before the pressures of fame and duty drove them apart. Their reunion was bittersweet. Both had changed since their last meeting. Arjun hardened by responsibility, Mira tempered by her own struggles, but the connection between them remained strong. They met one evening at the same park where they used to sit during quieter times. The city skyline glittered in the distance, a stark contrast to the simplicity of their past. As they walked along the path, neither spoke for several minutes, each lost in thought. Finally, Mira broke the silence. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "For everything. I should have stood by you no matter what." Arjun shook his head. "Don't apologize," he replied. "We both made mistakes, but I'm glad you're here now." Mira smiled faintly. "Do you ever think about how different our lives are now? How far we've come?" "All the time," Arjun admitted. "Sometimes I wonder if I've lost myself in all of this, if I've forgotten who I used to be." "You haven't," Mira assured him. "You're still the same brave, kind person who saved my life all those years ago. You've just grown into someone even greater." Her words brought tears to his eyes. For the first time in months, Arjun allowed himself to feel something other than stress or fear. He realized that while his journey had taken him far from his roots, it had also taught him valuable lessons about resilience, sacrifice, and love. Preparing for the final battles. Weeks turned into months. Signs of the aliens' return grew increasingly ominous. Satellite images captured massive fleets amassing near the edge of the solar system, their movements deliberate and calculated. Scientists warned that this time, the attack would be far deadlier. The invaders weren't just probing Earth's defenses, they were planning to obliterate it. Arjun knew humanity's survival depended on perfecting the Star Destroyers. He pushed his team harder than ever, demanding excellence in every aspect of their work. Late nights blurred into early mornings as they fine-tuned engines, calibrated weapons, and tested shielding mechanisms. Mistakes were unacceptable. Perfection was the only standard. One night, as Arjun reviewed blueprints in his office, Mira walked in carrying a tray of food. She set it down on the desk and sat beside him, watching as he scribbled notes furiously. "You need to eat," she said firmly. "And sleep. You're running yourself into the ground." "I don't have time for either," Arjun muttered without looking up. "Yes, you do," Mira insisted. "What good will you be if you collapse before the battle even begins?" Reluctantly, Arjun paused and glanced at her. Her concern was evident in her eyes, and he felt a pang of guilt. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. I can't fail. Not again." "You won't," Mira reassured him. "But you can't shoulder this burden alone. Let me help you. Let us help you." Her words struck a chord deep within him. For too long, Arjun had tried to carry the weight of the world on his own shoulders. Now, surrounded by people who cared about him, he realized he didn't have to. Together they could face whatever came next. The final stand. When the aliens finally launched their assault, the skies above Earth turned dark. Massive ships descended like storm clouds, their weapons glowing ominously. Panic spread across cities as civilians scrambled for shelter. Governments declared martial law, urging citizens to remain calm and trust in the defense forces. From mission control, Arjun watched the unfolding chaos with a heavy heart. This was it, the moment he had prepared for. The Star Destroyers launched into orbit, forming a protective barrier around Earth. Pilots communicated through headsets, their voices steady despite the enormity of the task ahead. "Stay focused," Arjun instructed, his tone firm but reassuring. "We've trained for this. Trust your instincts and trust each other." The battle raged for hours, the outcome uncertain until the very end. Alien ships fired devastating beams of energy, shaking the planet below. Earth's defenders retaliated, with equal ferocity, their vessels weaving through the chaos like dancers in a deadly ballet. Explosions lit up the sky, casting eerie shadows over the landscape. At one critical moment, a massive alien cruiser targeted Earth's largest city. If it succeeded, millions would perish. Arjun made a split-second decision, ordering a squadron of Star Destroyers to intercept the attack. The maneuver was risky, requiring precise timing and coordination. For a few agonizing seconds, it seemed doomed to fail. Then, miraculously, the plan worked. The alien cruiser exploded in a burst of light, sending shockwaves rippling through space. Cheering erupted in mission control as pilots reported the success. Slowly but surely, the tide of the battle shifted in humanity's favor. By dawn, the alien fleet had retreated, leaving behind a trail of wreckage. Exhausted but victorious, the defenders returned to Earth, greeted by cheers and tears of relief. It was over. For now. Legacy of courage. In the aftermath, Arjun became a global icon, celebrated not just for his brilliance, but for his courage and leadership. Awards and honors poured in, but he accepted them graciously, always deflecting praise onto his team. "None of this would have been possible without them," he said repeatedly. "We achieved this together." Mira stood proudly by his side during ceremonies and interviews, their bond stronger than ever. Though scars remained from their past conflicts, they had weathered the storm together, emerging stronger and wiser. Arjun often joked that she was the real hero, having kept him grounded when he needed it most. As time passed, Arjun devoted himself to building a better future, not just for Earth but for all of humanity. He envisioned a world united by common goals, free from fear and division. His innovations paved the way for exploration beyond the stars, inspiring generations to dream bigger and reach farther. Looking back on his journey, Arjun realized how far he had come, from a poor boy in a small village to a savior of humanity. It hadn't been easy, but every challenge had shaped him into the person he was today. Through bravery, determination, and unwavering faith in himself and others, he had proven that greatness wasn't defined by wealth or privilege, but by the willingness to risk everything for a greater cause. And so, under the vast expanse of the cosmos, Arjun's story became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of dreams, love, and resilience. Whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity knew it had a hero ready to lead the way.